Hi, my name is Alexis. I'm the Avoidant therapist. In today's video, we're going to discuss about how an avoidant can affect your brain, can actually change the structure of your brain. As you know, if you've been watching my videos, perhaps it's the first time you're watching some of my videos, and welcome. Dating an avoidant can be difficult. And I know it very well. As a matter of fact, I used to be dismissive avoidant, and I know I used to be a pain for my partner. What I wanted to do in this video, and I think it's the first time I'm making a video on this, is really looking at how it would actually rewire your brain. And it's important to understand because a lot of my clients were secure before they dated their avoidant partner. And they feel like it's very hard now to get back to being confident, to dating. Maybe I want to get back with them, but I can't trust myself anymore. And it's because this relationship changed at the brain level how we see the world, how we react to the world. So we discuss this, and also obviously, what can we do about that? How can we change? Because if this relationship changed us, revealed some insecurities, changed our neural pathways, what can we do to overwrite those inconsistent patterns, those unhealthy patterns, so we can finally be happy in a relationship and maybe get back to being secure or developing a secure attachment style if we were never secure in the first place. This is what we will cover today in this video. So first of all, let's discuss about attachment, what we call attachment trauma, and the brain chemistry. So first of all, and again, what I'm saying is there's like sources, so I'll put them in the description of this video. And it's fascinating when you start researching this. The emotional bond, so we think it's like psychology and it's just like mental, actually shape your brain wiring. So the brain wiring is the neural pathways between neurons. And so the more you do something, the more you think about something, it becomes your reality. But it's actually something hardwired in your brain. And so what happens is when you have those emotional withdrawals, it triggers a threat. Okay? When someone leaves, it's when we experience loss, whether it's bereavement or a breakup, we detect that threat system. We activate this fight or flight response. The problem with avoidant is that they push this button a lot, right? They create this unpredictable, very hard to understand, very hard to predict environment. And so the thing is, what you would do, the default position, is you're going to be focused on, is he going to leave? Are they still around? Rather than hold on. What can I do to feel better? How can I, what are my needs? Right? And there's always this conflict between what feels dangerous, right? And what feels right. What feels like the right solution for me to be at peace. And we always have this sympathetic and parasympathetic system where one is about soothing you and the other one is to stay alert. Right? Always those two systems. The problem is when you date an avoidant, you're always on alert because you don't know exactly. You're walking on eggshells. Right? You don't know if they reply to your message. You don't know if they're going to cancel last minute. Right? The thing is, when you create those patterns, you become anxious. And that also becomes the norm, the baseline. And so what happens is sometimes we attach love to the fear of loss. We equate this intensity, this passion, to attachment bond. No, it's not. Right? So it's very important for you to, and I think it's quite difficult to do at the beginning, to really accept that actually the way you see the relationship, the way you see love right now is based on that reaction, right? Based on that fight or flight. And so what you're doing, especially after a breakup, you're reacting and you're trying to survive that loss of connection. So that's the first thing you need to understand. And so we have basic neurotransmitters. You have dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. These one will stimulate the prefrontal cortex, so the ones around behaviors, emotional regulation, The problem is the other neurotransmitters is cortisol. And this one will pause the activity in the prefrontal cortex that will hijack everything that we are doing. Hold on, fight or flight. I'm stressed, I'm anxious. So there's different manifestation in terms of maybe you be sweating, maybe you have panic attack. And this is why after a breakup, or this is why when we have a hard time in the relationship, sometimes we have difficulty sleeping, eating, we can't focus at work, is because we are being hijacked by that system telling us, you need to be on alert. That's the top priority. It's not your work, it's not your family, it's not your friends. You have to be on alert because of that. So again, it's very important to understand that right now, what you need to do is to find ways to reduce the level of cortisol and increase the level of dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. The challenge is you experience and you got those neurotransmitters early in the relationship or throughout the relationship. So oxytocin is the love hormone. So when you're connected, when you hug someone, but the withdrawal will, as I said, spike cortisol. Okay, stress hormone. So one will be, I feel great. The other one is like, I need to be alert. And cortisol in itself is not a bad hormone. It helps us to stay alert. You need a bit of cortisol in the morning to get up to speed, to get to be focused. The challenge is, how can I balance things out? The problem is when you have this intermittent reinforcement, that predicts addiction. That gives you what we call behavioral conditioning. Okay, it's kind of a treat. Rather than being consistent, this is what you get. I'm here for you. And you get a little bit of, could be called breadcrumbs or candies that they give you. And you don't know exactly when and how. That uncertainty create that conditioning. And so, as I said before, your body will associate love with anxiety. Love becomes something very passionate because it's uncertain. You know the little butterflies in your belly, right? And you equate these little butterflies in your belly to something that is more about like, okay, the stress of being in a relationship with an avoidant, or the stress of managing a breakup after you dated someone avoidant, because they don't want to discuss anything. Because it's not clear why they left. It's not clear what they want. It's not clear whether they want to work on the relationship or not. It's not clear about your role in the breakup. And that's why potentially throughout the relationship you need proof. After the breakup you need proof, right? Proof that, are you interested? Are you in love with me? Do you want to commit? Etc. etc. And so also what you have to understand, and that's probably the most important thing you need to do to know in this video. If you want to date, or if you want to make sure that you're starting a relationship based on healthy patterns, you need to be aware that sometimes after we are hooked and addicted to those dynamics, we need to understand that potentially the secure relationship is the one that feels boring right now. Because as you equate excitement with love, you want that exciting relationship, right? You want that mysterious, hard to get unconsciously. The problem is that that's not what you need. So it's really finding, hold on, why do I dismiss, and I see that every day, dismiss those partners where all of my friends are telling me, he's great, she's great, we love her, we love him, but you feel like, I don't have the spark. And in those cases, your gut feeling is not the right thing to listen to. You need to assess why you don't have the spark. I'm not saying like you should force yourself into a relationship when you don't feel there's no chemistry with this person, but you need to figure out like why, if I have a list of all the things that I like about this person and it's very hard for me to find things that I don't like, why can't I feel the spark? A few signs that your brain was impacted: obsessive thinking about their moods, text, attention, the massive highs, the deep crashes, Obviously losing trust, second guessing, feeling that you're walking on eggshells, as I discussed, difficulty focusing on work, on our hobbies, this addiction of like, did I reply to the message? Did he, etc., etc. Could also be physical symptoms: insomnia, tightness in your chest, stomach issues, etc. This is a sign that your nervous system is in survival mode. So always, when you have a difficult loss, your survival mode kicks in. So if you're losing someone, bereavement, grief, etc., it's always like this. Right at the beginning or throughout the process, we have times where our body shuts down, where we can't do anything because the amygdala is activated and we're really in that phase of like stay alert, danger mode, survival mode. Okay, and that's why it's very hard sometimes. We can't go to work, we can't get out of bed. That's normal. And also it's a proof that your brain is affected in a way. And the point is, the only way for you to heal is to actually heal your brain. Okay, so when I say brain, I'm not saying like you need to do brain surgery, obviously not, but it's about like those neural pathways that I discussed in the introduction. Maybe there are thoughts, and let me know in the comment section if some of them you can relate with, where you minimize things, because you have the chemistry of the brain and how we experience the world, and that will drive those thoughts pattern. You might minimize, that wasn't that bad. You might self-blame, it's just me. You know, I've asked to be committed and we've been together for 10 years and maybe I shouldn't have. You're cherry picking, but you know, on that weekend we had a great time, right? And he told me he loved me, or she told me. I always say he, but it could be equally for women. Scarcity thinking, but that's the only person, right? I'll never find this again. This is probably the most powerful one, and by experience it's completely wrong, and I can find you tons of examples of things where actually you met that person in the first place. Maybe you won't get back together. If you met that person before, you can meet someone else. That's a guarantee. False responsibility. If I was more secure, it would have worked. So you can replay the scenario again and again. My approach is, develop that secure attachment style, do the work, but expect that they do the same as well. So my approach, when people want to get back with the ex, I can't judge. Sometimes it's clear it's not a good idea, but I can't judge. My job is to, let's pave the way. Let's design the right relationship together, you and I. And then we assess whether this person that you still put on a pedestal is meeting you there, right? You're doing the work, you're progressing, you're feeling more confident. What about them? What's their response? Sometimes, most of the time, if the relationship mattered, there's a reaction, there's a response. People see, hold on, I was wrong about you. Maybe it could work. And then we start a process of reconciliation. And some of the time, my clients feel, actually, he or she's nowhere there where I need them to be. That's not what I want. I thought it was what I wanted, but that's not what I want. Because they've done the work. And they made that decision based on a secure place. Not because they're scared of the loss, not because they're activated, not because they're on survival mode, but because they're really at peace with things, they're emotionally regulated, and they have a clear idea of their boundaries, and they know how to communicate, and they basically, it's not about necessarily maturity, but they feel way mature than their partner, and you don't want to be dating someone immature or having a relationship with someone immature. So that's the first thing. And so again, try to reflect, maybe pause the video, looking at those thoughts, and maybe you're having those thoughts yourself. They are very dangerous. Now, obviously, I wouldn't have a job if you couldn't heal your brain. You can heal your brain, neuroplasticity, tons of research on that. You can wire your brain for healing. How you do it? Consistency, safety, support. There's no shortcut in the sense of like the way you wire your neural pathways, you have to override them by doing things again, repetition. The goal in those cases, and I've done this for many years now, developing a secure attachment style is the best way. Will that solve all your relationship problems? No. But it's the best way in the sense that it's very targeted. It's very simple to be hyper-focused on that. And because it's a well-documented field of study, there's plenty of tools and things that have been proven to work. The challenge that you have with traditional therapy is that because there's a lot of whys and there's a lot of doors that we open, it lacks the kind of focus and sort of solution-oriented mode that I love in my practice. So the point is also reframing, and perhaps that's the first thing you can do today, is reframing love as feeling calm, feeling safe. So if I ask you, did you feel safe with your partner? Did you feel at peace with your partner? And it's very hard for you to say yes. Then that tells me it's not the right relationship. You want to be from a place of safety, of security. So the first practice that we do with the little routine and habits that I want to implement with my clients is the what I call act of self-trust, right? Because sometimes you're in the fog, you don't know exactly what to do, how to move forward. My job is to provide clarity, okay? Clarity in the sense of, okay, I know the objective, developing a secure attachment style. And maybe there are various reasons for you to develop this secure attachment style. Maybe you want to potentially try again with your ex. Maybe you just want to stop feeling anxious. Maybe you want to heal your trauma bonds. Maybe you want to be having better emotional regulation system. Maybe it's about boundaries. But all of them can be tackled if you develop a secure attachment style. And so the point for me is to really help people in the sense of, yes, your case is different. How can we together design a path for you where you feel a sense of progress, right? Because it's about consistency. And the secure base that I mentioned on the slide is something we design is 12 weeks, where 1 week is a step, right? You don't need 2 years of therapy to develop a secure attachment style, at least to get the tools to be able to progress on your own. And in those 12 weeks, you progress one step after the other one. And then this sense of progress is also very empowering, right? Again, therapy is very much like going in circles. It's fine when you have to start somewhere, but if you, for example, if you have a therapist and you feel like going in circle, now it's like, okay, what can I use? How can I use this knowledge and really make progress and climb that ladder? So if you need help in figuring out what to do, in getting that path, you can book a call with me. In the session, we'll discuss your situation. And I will also send you how it would look like, send you a preliminary plan of action for the next 12 weeks, whether you want to do it on your own, whether you want to do it with us. That's your call, but it's just to give you a bit of clarity. If you have any questions on this, let me know in the comment section, and I'll see you next time. Take care.